What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Buzz. Dan Hooker unleashed a fiery tirade against Arman Tsarukyan ahead of their anticipated clash at UFC Qatar, labeling his rival a spoiled rich kid who's underestimating him. The tension between the two lightweights has reached a boiling point, especially after Dana White confirmed that their fight will determine the next lightweight title challenger. Hooker made it clear he's not stepping into the octagon as anyone's stepping stone, warning that Tsarukyan's arrogance will be his downfall once the cage door closes. "I think he's a prick," Hooker said bluntly. "He's been chirping at me since the day he joined the UFC. I'm not the type to start drama, but I'll always fire back. He constantly discredits me as a fighter, claiming I've turned him down or avoided him. He's been carrying that narrative for years. Now, I've decided to speak up, and I'm not one to mince my words. Now, I've decided to speak up." The New Zealand veteran didn't hold back in highlighting the differences between them. "He's a spoiled little rich kid who's had everything handed to him," Hooker continued. "I'm the complete opposite of that. Everything I've earned, I've fought for. I've worked my way up from nothing. I've taken every punch, every loss, and every lesson to get here. I just can't wait to rub that in his face inside the cage. Money can't help you beat Dan Hooker. That's what I want him to understand." Meanwhile, the lightweight title picture is beginning to take shape. Justin Gaethje appears closer than ever to locking in a massive showdown with Ilia Topuria, although for weeks, it seemed like Paddy Pimblett might be next in line. Even Tsarukyan admitted he expected the UFC to book El Matador against Paddy, but nothing has been finalized. Some insiders believe the UFC might elevate Topuria's name further by pairing him with a veteran nearing the end of his career. As for Dan Hooker, he suddenly finds himself in a position few predicted. A victory over Tsarukyan would not only silence critics, but could unexpectedly thrust him back into title contention. A conversation his name hasn't been part of in years. With a renewed mindset and an underdog's grit, Hooker seems ready to prove that hunger, heart, and hard work still matter more than privilege and hype inside the UFC's most stacked division. Please subscribe to our channel and leave a like on this video. We truly value your support and thanks for supporting us. Move on to another news. After Alex Pereira's dominant victory over Ankalaev at UFC 320, many fans were left speechless by the sheer one-sided nature of the fight. Pereira's precision, power, and composure made it look like he was operating on an entirely different level. But fellow light heavyweight Jiri, who also fought and won on the same night, had a different perspective on what went down inside the cage. According to Prochaska, Ankalaev simply didn't look like himself. The Czech warrior explained that he sensed something off about the Russian contender's demeanor and energy, a lack of the usual calm, calculated rhythm that Ankalaev is known for. "I felt that he wasn't his usual self," Prochaska said. "When I watched him before and during the fight, I could see he was too careful, like something was wrong. He wasn't moving with the same confidence, changing levels, or pressing forward like he normally does. It was as if he was holding himself back." Jiri went on to compare this situation to their first encounter, where Pereira was the one battling through adversity, dealing with an injured hand and a difficult weight cut. This time, Prochaska added, "It felt like the roles were reversed. Pereira looked fresh and sharp, while Ankalaev didn't seem to be at 100%. Reports later surfaced suggesting Ankalaev might have been dealing with a rib injury in the build-up to the fight, further explaining his uncharacteristic caution inside the octagon. As for Jiri's own performance, he secured a hard-fought win over Khalil Roundtree Jr., though it wasn't his most dominant outing. Early in the fight, Roundtree found success with sharp striking, forcing Jiri to dig deep and rally in the later rounds to secure victory. While the win helped keep Prochaska in title contention, attention has now shifted toward Ulberg, who many believe is emerging as the frontrunner for the next shot at Pereira's title. Ulberg's recent streak and dominant displays have made him one of the most talked-about names in the division. Meanwhile, fans across the MMA world are eager to see what's next for Alex Pereira. The community hopes he remains at light heavyweight to defend his belt at least one more time. While a potential super fight with Jon Jones would be a massive draw, many believe that such a matchup could mark the final chapter of Pereira's legendary career. For now, all eyes remain on whether Poatan continues his reign at 205, and if Ankalaev can bounce back to reclaim. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria has once again shaken the MMA world with his latest comments, this time hinting at a possible retirement that feels more real than ever. In a recent interview with Spanish influencer David Martinez, the undefeated UFC lightweight champion, known as El Matador, opened up about his future in a way that left fans both stunned and concerned. When asked what comes next in his career, many expected the usual fire, perhaps a call out of Paddy Pimblett, Arman Tsarukyan, or even Islam Makhachev. Instead, Topuria gave a far more introspective and emotional answer, suggesting that his hunger for competition motivation may be fading. It's getting harder to find new challenges, he admitted. After beating legends and achieving everything I set out to do, I'm starting to ask myself what's left. For months, Topuria has openly expressed his ambition to move up to welterweight and pursue a historic third UFC title, something no fighter has ever accomplished. However, Dana White has repeatedly dismissed that idea, insisting Topuria defend his lightweight belt first. Still, El Matador continues to push for the move, making it clear that staying at lightweight doesn't excite him anymore, especially after his dominant first-round victory over Charles Oliveira. With no new challenges on the horizon, the fire that once fueled him appears to be dimming. Adding to the speculation, Topuria has always said he plans to retire by age 30, and he's never backed down from that claim. If he stands by it, time is running out. I want to go out on top, he said, echoing the paths of greats like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Georges St-Pierre, and Jon Jones, champions who walked away at the peak of their powers. This latest interview didn't feel like promotional hype or a publicity stunt. It felt genuine. The words of a fighter who has accomplished everything and is struggling to find purpose beyond victory. Reflecting on his journey, Topuria explained, "My goal was to conquer the lightweight division, and I did that. Now, I don't know. I'll follow whatever still brings me joy, but that's getting harder to find. When your dream is to become world champion and you finally achieve it, then move up and conquer that too, you start asking yourself, what's next? What's the point of going on? I'm at a place where I have to force myself to find reasons to stay in the game." Move on to another news. Dana White's reaction to Ilia Topuria's retirement talk has sent shockwaves through the MMA community, with new reports suggesting serious tension behind the scenes at the UFC. According to respected Spanish journalist Papa Legaspi, a media figure close to Topuria, the UFC president and his team are growing increasingly frustrated and concerned over the champion's recent comments about losing motivation and possibly walking away from the sport. Over the past few weeks, Ilia Topuria has openly expressed his fading passion for fighting, hinting that his love for competition is waning. Many believe this frustration stems from the collapse of his dream matchups. First, the highly anticipated fight with Islam Makhachev never materialized. Then, negotiations for a blockbuster clash with Paddy began to stall, leaving Topuria without a clear direction for his next bout. During an interview with the Nelk Boys, Ilia even went so far as to say he'd rather vacate his lightweight title than fight Arman, whom he has repeatedly dismissed as an unworthy opponent. Those comments reportedly sparked a major internal reaction within the UFC. Dana White and the matchmakers were not pleased. Known for his no-nonsense approach, Dana has always frowned upon fighters threatening retirement or jumping weight classes without justification. But in Topuria's case, sources claim Dana is genuinely worried about losing one of the UFC's biggest rising stars. According to Legaspi, discussions have already begun behind closed doors about a possible compromise, allowing Topuria to move up to welterweight to face the winner of Islam versus JDM. While Dana traditionally resists bending the rules for any fighter, Ilia's massive global popularity, especially in Europe and Latin America, may be forcing his hand. Dana doesn't like making these kinds of exceptions, Legaspi reported, but with Ilia's star power and the risk of losing him completely, he's willing to bend. At this point, the situation remains fluid. Topuria still holds the lightweight belt, but his patience appears to be wearing thin. If the UFC fails to present him with the kind of challenge that reignites his competitive fire, retirement, or at least a temporary break, may no longer be just talk. One thing is certain, Ilia Topuria's future is now one of the most closely watched stories in the UFC, and how Dana White handles it could define the promotion's next chapter. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has once again captured the attention of the MMA world, this time by expressing his belief that Jon Jones is genuinely willing to fight him. Both fighters are 38 years old and widely regarded as two of the most dominant champions in UFC history. Pereira made it clear that if this super fight is going to happen, it needs to happen soon, while both men are still at their peak. During a recent Q&A session, the reigning light heavyweight champion was asked about the possibility of facing Jon Jones, the undisputed heavyweight king. Pereira responded with calm confidence, saying he believes Jones' past comments about wanting the fight were sincere. "I don't think he was just talking," Pereira said. "That's something he mentioned himself in interviews, that he wants this fight. I think he's at an age where time matters, and so am I. We're not young prospects anymore. We don't have time to waste. If Jon truly wants it, I believe he's being sincere." Pereira emphasized that for him, it's not about chasing legacy or records. It's about competing at the highest level while he still can. Known for his stoic mindset and warrior spirit, Alex made it clear clear that he's not concerned about how others will view the outcome. "This is MMA," he said. "Those who know my work know that I've always said, you either win or you lose. What matters to me is giving everything in preparation, showing up and doing my best. That's all that's within my control." The Brazilian powerhouse also reflected on how outside opinions or rankings don't define him. "Sometimes you do everything right," Pereira continued. "But the people who are supposed to validate your efforts don't do it. That's not something I can control. I'll just keep doing my job, and if they decide I'm the best, second best, or even last, that's up to them. My focus is always the same. Train hard, fight with honor, and give the fans a show." With both Jon Jones and Alex Pereira nearing the twilight of their legendary careers, this potential matchup has become one of the most talked about topics in combat sports. Fans are already calling it a clash of eras, the master technician versus the most fearsome striker of the modern age. Whether the UFC can make it happen remains to be seen, but Pereira's message was clear. He's ready, and he believes Jon Jones might be too. Move on to another news. Sean Brady recently opened up about his decision to accept a fight against Michael Morales at UFC 322, following the official announcement from Hunter Campbell. Despite currently holding the number 2 spot in the welterweight division and Morales being ranked No. 8, Brady explained that rankings don't dictate his career path. Determination does. "I knew that whether I fight Morales now or later, I'd have to face him eventually," Brady said. "So I figured, why not get him out of the way now? I'm coming off a big win against Leon, and taking this fight is a risk, but once I beat Morales, there's no denying me a title shot. That's my goal, to make myself undeniable until the UFC has no choice but to give me the title opportunity." Brady emphasized that he's not the type to sit and wait for the perfect matchup or play the ranking game. "I'm not waiting around, bro," he continued. "There's no perfect fight in the UFC. Everyone's tough, everyone hits hard. We're the best fighters in the world. You have to be ready for anyone they put in front of you. This is the fight they offered." And I said yes without hesitation. When asked if he was disappointed about moving from a potential No. 1 contender bout to facing a lower-ranked opponent, Brady was quick to shut down the idea. "It doesn't matter. The UFC doesn't care about rankings. They make the fights. If I go out there and beat Michael Morales after beating Leon, they can't deny me a title shot. Rankings don't make fights. The fans don't make fights. The UFC does. My job is to keep proving myself until I get what I've earned." Brady concluded by reaffirming his fighter's mindset and passion for the sport. "At the end of the day, I'm a fighter. I get paid to fight, and I love doing it. So I'll keep showing up, keep winning, and keep forcing the UFC's hand. One way or another, I'm going to get that title shot." Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier has officially had enough of Jose Aldo's repeated retirement ceremonies. After Aldo announced once again that he's stepping away from MMA, Cormier voiced his frustration, saying he's done getting emotional every time the Brazilian legend decides to retire. Speaking on his podcast, the former 2-division champion made it clear that while he deeply respects Aldo, the constant farewells have lost their impact. "Let me say this first," Cormier began. "I'm a massive fan of Jose Aldo Jr., always have been. But I'm over it, man. I'm done with it. When he retired at the Hall of Fame, I was emotional. Watching him walk out to Rihanna's Run This Town, it hit me. He had that look of peace, the kind that comes when you've accomplished everything. I thought, yes, this guy finally got out with his legacy intact." But then, Aldo returned to fighting, and for Cormier, that moment of closure disappeared. He goes and fights again, and then he walks out in Brazil with that same emotional song. And it's supposed to be another farewell? Nah. I can't do that again. I can't get emotional for someone multiple times like that, Cormier said. If he walks out in Sao Paulo and does another retirement ceremony, gloves off in the octagon, tears, speeches, I swear I'm throwing something at my TV. I can't do it again, Chell. I can only handle that kind of emotion once or twice. That's it. Cormier stressed that his reaction isn't disrespect. It's coming from genuine affection and exhaustion as a longtime fan. It was awesome. I'm happy he had that Hall of Fame moment. It was perfect. A legend leaving on his own terms. But please, let's be done with the retirements. I just want him to be done for real this time. If you're done, be done. Don't keep pulling our emotions back and forth. His co-host Chael Sonnen agreed, saying he completely understood the sentiment. Am I wrong? Cormier asked, and Chael replied, no, I co-sign that statement. We can move on. Let's move on right now. Move on to another news. Aljamain Sterling recently stirred up debate in the MMA community by claiming that Merab Dvalishvili's resume has now surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov's. moves. Speaking passionately about the Georgian contender's recent dominance, Sterling broke down why he believes Merab's achievements, pace, and consistency outshine the undefeated former lightweight champion's legendary run. Khabib is one of the greatest lightweights of all time. That's undeniable, Sterling began. But he also had stretches of inactivity where he wasn't consistently competing against the best guys. And when that happens, it's hard for me to say you're by far the best when you didn't take as many chances or risks. Sterling explained that Merab's current run mirrors Khabib's title stretch, but in a far shorter time frame. Merab basically had the same kind of title run Khabib had, just condensed into a single year. How can anyone dispute that? In some ways, his performances have even been more impressive. Statistically, he's on pace to break Khabib's all-time takedown record, and he's done it in a shorter amount of time. While acknowledging Khabib's injury history, Sterling noted that Merab's activity level is exceptional. I get that Khabib had injuries, that's fair, but still, Merab fights far more often. He's an anomaly. Not many fighters can compete at that pace, but that should count in his favor. Activity matters. Taking on top guys back-to-back, staying healthy, and constantly improving. That's what greatness looks. Sterling went further, comparing their legacies directly. If Khabib had 4 title defenses over 3 years, and Merab does the same in just 1, how can you deny that the guy who's putting his body on the line more frequently deserves extra credit? As a fighter, I know how hard that is. He concluded by emphasizing the mental and physical toll of such consistency. It's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But fighters like Merab keep proving that relentless pace and toughness count. He's not waiting around for perfect timing. He's creating his own legacy through sheer volume, skill, and heart. From a fighter's perspective, that's more impressive than playing it safe. He's earning every bit of his spot on the Mount Rushmore of